Hello.
Hey.
Hello. Hi. Hey. It's Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't bother to adjust this at all, but that's
No,
probably
no, it's
fine. I think it's fine. It's Tuesday. It's time for new comic books. I hear it's a light week.
I feel like I've been saying that every week, and we really should just say it's January.
It's
It's
January.
light. It's a light month.
Is this a typical light month
Yeah,
situation?
there's not always a lot of new stuff launching in January. When
Mm.
we do this stream, I always try to pick out like new number ones,
Mm-hmm.
and this like month, I'm lucky if I can find one, like new number one to talk about. And this is a fifth week, which is not a normal thing. A lot of months will only have like 4 Wednesdays in them. This one we got five, so that's always kind of usually a light week too. But as every time I say this, we have like a light week. It's also ends up being like one of the key weeks for me,
Uh-huh.
like for my personal pull. It's like
Yeah.
my favorite books are coming out in that week.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why they plan it like that. I guess maybe I just like books that don't come out in the important weeks. I don't know, but yeah, there's some really, like I said, it's a small stack, but there is some hot
Some
stuff,
heavy
heavy
hitters
hitters
in the
coming out
small stack.
in the
Well,
small stack.
let's
Yeah.
start with the stack. Let's
Well,
let's take a look at. Hold
I
on. Facsimile cover.
that's right.
Boom.
Yes, I always start with the facsimiles. And Marvel is doing their reprint of Superhero Secret Wars, which is the actual first appearance of Spider-Man's black costume,
Yep.
which now can also be said to be the first appearance of Venom. If you want to get really
Sure.
technical about it, I
I
disagree, but
I guess.
whatever. But this is the first issue of Amazing Spider-Man.
Technically, right's the best kind of right.
I mean, that's true,
Mhm.
but they're technically incorrect, I would argue. So,
Wow.
you know. Anyway, this
Wow.
is this is
Played
the
the Uno reverse card on
that's
him.
that's right. This is the first issue of Amazing Spider-Man, the
Mhm.
monthly series, where he has the black costume, and it directly follows the events of Secret Wars. And it's a fun comic. I really like it. It's kind of a, I mean, it came out in 1984 or five. I want to say 585,
Mhm.
and it's almost like a throwback to the way comics used to be written, where it was it's a monthly series, and each issue had its own like complete story in it that was still a part of a larger story. And so this is kind of a breather issue where after
Mhm.
the huge adventure that he just went on, he just kind of like hangs out in New York and gets reacquainted. And we
Mhm.
see like some of the effects of his new alien costume
Mhm.
that he
Mhm.
doesn't really understand what it is or why
Mhm.
it is the way it
He
is.
gives him
But
5 o'clock shadow.
well, that's because he's been on an alien planet for like a week. He hasn't
Oh.
shaved,
Oh.
and he's Peter Parker, so he probably doesn't grow that robust of a beard.
I mean, it
Like,
looks pretty good to me.
it's okay.
It's a good choice.
But they even make a joke about that. About it. He's like, "Oh, I need to go shave."
I gotta do it.
Yeah, but it's a good comic. It's one of those ones that's, I feel like in the back issue bins,
Hmm.
it's a little inflated. Its price just because it's the first issue of Spider-Man to have the black costume, even though
Mhm.
it's not the first black costume, but it's the beginning of that period. So I really like that Marvel and DC are putting out these facsimiles of like key books
Mhm.
that you can just have in your collection and not have to spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars for an older copy that's probably not even in that good condition.
Great.
Yeah, I know you're excited about that. Talking about Spider-Man and the
Hey,
black costume,
it's Venom.
there's a few trade paperbacks that come out tomorrow that I highly recommend. I've been talking about this book as it's been coming out, Venom Lethal Protector.
Mhm.
You know me, Dan, I like the throwback, older
Mhm.
style comics.
Mhm.
So this is a new Venom series, but it's written by David Michelini, the co-creator of Venom, who wrote a lot of Spider-Man and Venom comics in the
Mhm.
90s. It's really good. Actually, the art I think is pretty solid. Who I've forgotten his name, but we're gonna boom right there. Farid Karami. It's good. Like it looks like he has like a Mark Bagley style to his art, which I feel is appropriate because
Mhm.
Mark Bagley is the one who drew the first Venom Lethal Protector series,
Yeet.
and did a lot of classic '90s stuff with Michelini.
Yeah, I was gonna
Uh,
say.
yeah, so it's a good. I mean, I know you're aware of that, Dan. I'm
I
just
know
saying it for the
these are all
benefit.
things that I know.
Yeah,
I just have known these
Dan
things.
knows stuff. This
Been
series,
knowing.
this one notable that Silver Sable is in it.
Oh, Silver Sable.
She is a very cool '90s character.
Never heard of Silver Sable.
She's not the most popular character, but she popped up in Spider-Man in the '90s and kind of had
Did her own
did
thing.
her own thing.
Yeah.
She's classic like hot babe mercenary. So she's like kind of an anti-hero. Like she's not a good guy
Mhm.
or a bad guy.
Yeah.
She's just whoever's paying her. So
She's
sometimes
she's tough. She's got a mouth on her, like
Yep.
kind of like
Yep.
talks like a BA.
That's right, and she usually has big guns
Yeah,
and
very unusual for a hero.
yeah, you don't see a lot of characters like that. But
Hardly at all.
but she's pretty cool,
All right.
and she's got a team of skilled soldiers of fortune, and
Mhm.
sometimes they beat up Spider-Man, sometimes they
Ooh.
team up with
How
Spider-Man.
do they beat up Spider-Man?
Well, Spider-Man's kind of a dork, so he's not really a good fighter.
He just gets a
Like,
swirly.
yeah, they just dump his books,
I think the
smash
second
him into the
time I
locker.
said gets a swirly today. I'm gonna be honest.
You got swirlies on the brain?
I got other projects going on.
Doing some swirly planning.
It's
But anyway, we talked about this book as the issues were coming out.
very confusing cover, by
It's-
the way. My mind can't make heads or tails of it.
So this story has Doctor Doom in it. That's Doctor Doom,
Uh-huh.
and he steals the symbiote from Eddie Brock, and he becomes all-powerful Doom with the alien symbiote, the Venom symbiote.
Oh.
And stuff happens, and
Yeah.
but Spider-Man's not really in it because it's a Venom comic.
Mhm.
So Venom has to figure it out on his own with the help of Silver Sable.
Got you.
Anyway, good book. I do recommend it if you like the classics and the classic version of Venom. Like the current version is very detached from this. That's what I can say. Another book that I
Ooh.
spoke very highly of, Wild's End. This
Wild's End.
legitimately might have been I can't say my favorite book from last year, but certainly one of them. I have a lot of favorites, and it's
Yeah.
difficult to narrow down to one. But
You like a talking animal.
I do like talking animals. This is a hefty omnibus. This is when we talked about Wild's End that came out last year.
Yeah.
It was the third Wild's End volume,
Mhm.
and I think it was the fourth one. And this collects the first 3 volumes of Wild's End. It's really, really good stuff. I really like these types of comics. They're lighthearted, but they're not written for kids. Like
Mhm.
it's just really good, smart adventure stuff. That's it's set in that older, like early 20th century time period. So it's got a little bit of just that old timey charm, you might call it. I don't know.
Mhm.
It's good stuff though. Yeah, like older,
Old timey charm.
old timey.
Just like me.
just like both of us.
Just handing out, Werther's originals to the kids, telling stories from back in the day,
You know what?
fighting aliens.
I could go to town on some Werther's originals. Let me
They're
tell
good
you,
stuff. I think they're delicious.
good candy.
Wild's End.
All right. Another interesting looking comic. I haven't talked about this one that's as it's been coming out because I'm not really reading it. I'm not the biggest Teen Titans
Mhm.
Nightwing guy,
Mhm.
but they've been doing this crossover called Beast World where characters are changing into animals,
Oh
and
boy.
it's kind of funny. And this is a lenticular cover. Let's see if you can see the
All right.
effect here.
Yeah.
You have Nightwing, and then he changes into a dog.
Is it a dog or a fox?
Or maybe a fox. You know what? My friend just got one of those Shiba Inu dogs.
It's a Shiba Inu.
I think so.
Sort of.
But look at that. I don't know. This is talking about old school, bringing me back to the '90s. This is very much a gimmicky cover.
Niche group.
It's a very specific audience that likes the people turning into But you know what? I do just flipping through it. I'm really happy to see that Detective Chimp is in this comic.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes it all right.
Detective Chimp is awesome.
If Detective Chimp is in it, count me in.
He's
that's what I always used to
He's
say.
a chimp who is a detective and smokes a pipe. Although
it's right what it says on the tin. What
exactly. But yeah, it's I just the lenticular cover caught my eye. I'm sure it'll catch a lot of other people's eyes. It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
But if you've been reading that, I'm sure you're excited for it.
What does Batman turn into?
A wolf, I believe.
Really?
Yeah. He turns into like a werewolf Batman. Not a bat. You might expect a bat.
That's what I was thinking. Wouldn't he just turn into a bat?
No. I think it's a
He
wolf.
turns into
But I haven't been reading it, so maybe he does both.
Very specific group of. All right. So what is this?
There's some other books that are in my pull that are worth talking
World's
about.
Finest. Is this a throwback cover?
Kind of. Yeah. So this is an annual. It's got that vibe where there's So this is an annual, so it has a bunch of short stories in it. So
Okay.
yes, this is like representative of the different short stories that are in it. If you've been following World's Finest, I'm sure you'll definitely pick it up. I enjoyed this. There's this first story has Mr. Mixie Pitlick and Batmite in it.
Oh, Batmite.
So everybody
like
loves
Batmite.
everybody loves Batmite.
Mhm.
But it has a bunch of different imps characters for like the entire Justice League. And it's a pretty fun, like goofy little story, but then it ends with some implications that it's going to lead into the regular World's Finest series. So I am looking forward to that. I've been enjoying Mark Waid's World's Finest series for the last like 2 years. I can't believe it's been going so strong.
You've enjoyed it the whole time.
I have, like since issue 1,
Wow.
which was actually, I mean, I'm not being sarcastic. It was like one of the first books that got me kind of back into reading just like a monthly superhero book. Because I haven't really read a lot of Marvel or DC stuff in a long time. But this book is really good, and I kind of just picked it up on a whim, and I wouldn't still be talking about it 2 years later if I didn't really enjoy it.
Something was going on.
Yeah, they got it.
It wasn't something.
So there's a few other short stories by it's a variety of different creators but they're all kind of related to stuff that's happened in either the World's Finest Batman and Superman, or this one is actually related to Mark Waid's other series, World's Finest Teen Titans, which I have talked about a little bit on the stream, but not every month that it comes out.
Yeah.
I do really I really enjoy this Challengers of the Unknown story. Really cool looking. Those are kind of like, they're really cool characters in the DC universe that don't get a lot of play. But Dan, I know you're aware, but people that might not be aware, the Challengers of the Unknown were actually created by Jack Kirby before he created Fantastic Four. So they're kind of like a proto Fantastic Four. Like it's a team of scientists that like investigate things. I knew that. Yeah, I mean, I know you know that. Yeah, I'm just saying.
I was about to bring it up, but you like beat me.
I cut you off. I know, like I like to do. But so it's like I would love to see Mark Waid tackle like a proper Challengers of the Unknown story and just get like really weird and psychedelic with it. Just go full on like crazy sci-fi. But this story is really good. The art is fantastic. This is my favorite story in the whole anthology. Highly recommend. World's Finest. I'm sure if you've been watching this stream, you've heard me talk about it every month that it comes out. But I know a lot of people are super jazzed on it. I think thinking back, it probably has been the most consistently good book for the last 2 years. Like, there's been some other books that have come and gone that I really, really like, but for this one to be a monthly book that's come out it's just such a rare thing these days for a monthly book to have the same creative team even for that much of a stretch, and to just also be really, really good. So yeah,
keep it going.
I dig it. We got some other Batman stuff to talk about.
More Batman.
I know you like Batman.
Oh, he doesn't turn into a wolf. He's riding.
No, this is unrelated to that.
He's riding a wolf here.
This is the Batman Offworld by Jason Aaron and Doug Mahnke. Really, really good book. I like Jason Aaron a lot, but he is having a lot of fun with this Batman. And I think I talked about it when we talked about one of the previous issues. It's a perfect meld of the super serious, edgy Batman with the like wacky, far out shenanigans Batman, where like he goes into space and fights an alien like metal dog something.
I've done that.
I mean, who among us hasn't?
Not.
But gets a little alien loving going on.
That happen every once in a while. Yeah.
You know what? When you're in space with alien babes, like, it's just gonna happen. Although this scene does kind of remind me of the scene in The Batman. Do you remember the Robert Pattinson movie?
I haven't watched it.
Oh, you haven't? Oh,
no.
Well, there is a good scene. You know me, Dan. I have a lot of criticisms for the Robert Pattinson Batman, but there is a really enjoyable scene where like Catwoman is kind of like talking to him and getting really emotional and unburdening herself, and he's like looking at her really intently, and it looks like he's like really focused on what she's saying, and he's about to respond with some kind of some sort of deep thing, and he just like hold still, and then he like puts contacts in her eyes because he's just focused on the mission and he doesn't really care about what she's
Wow.
saying. And there's a scene similar to that in this book where like this Tamanarian, I can never remember, the Starfire's race of aliens
Yeah.
is like always like can't figure out Batman. Like she thinks he's like some kind of weirdo psychopath, and he kind of is because he's just so
Well, he's a dude dressed like a
he's
bat.
dude who dresses like a bat, right? But I like the way they present him in this, where because a lot of people like to play that angle of the story, like Batman's just as crazy as his villains,
Yeah,
because
right.
what you'd have to be crazy to dress up like a bat. But that's I like that. That's not what's going on in this, because Batman lives in a world of superheroes where people wear costumes
Yeah,
and have
it's
powers.
not
It's not
uncommon.
uncommon, right? It's a thing that happens, so it's not like totally crazy. But it is crazy for him to try and be a superhero when he doesn't have superpowers, and that's
Right.
kind of what this is all about.
He's rich.
He's rich, but he's also, it's not just about being rich. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, that's why he can go into space, is because he's rich.
Mhm.
But the reason he's Batman is that he's so just hyper determined and focused and willing to like put himself to test his limits as strong as possible to get results, and that's what makes him Batman. And so I like that. Like it's nice.
hey, that's
It's a
pretty
nice
cool.
little
How was
double
that?
page
Yeah.
spread here.
That's pretty
Boom.
BA.
Yeah. It's good.
Yeah,
It's
Is
a
that
really
like his bat spacesuit?
yes. So he like builds, because as you saw at the beginning of the issue, it's like
He's
he's
running
all
around.
tore up,
Yeah, half
and so he
naked.
has to construct a new suit for while he's out in space.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
it's just really good. It's got that whole bat armor thing going on, but
it's got controls.
yeah, a little digital stuff
The
going on there.
controls on there.
It's a good comic. One of the I mean, I know I just sang the praises of World's Finest Batman and Superman, but this is actually one of the better Batman comics I've read in a long time. And Jason Aaron's a good writer. I'm super excited for him to keep up and like see what else he can do at DC. I think we talked about this last time. He's
Mhm.
mostly been at Marvel for the last like 20 years, and
Yeah.
so now he's kind of making this is his first Batman comic. The Action Comics run that's going on right now is his first Superman comic. So yeah, just really cool to see what he can bring to the table. And I think it's also kind of a, without sounding like too much of a jerk, he's a bit of a breath of fresh air to a lot of the Marvel art, a lot of the DC books. I feel like they've been like, it's just been a lot of the same creators have just been chugging away at DC.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's nice to mix it up a little bit and get some fresh perspective.
Fresh
in there.
perspectives,
Yeah.
fresh eyes.
Boom. Another one of my favorites that
Ooh.
comes out. I talk it up every time it comes out.
Every
Local
time
Man.
it links.
I love Local Man. This is such a fun, like quirky, off the beaten path superhero comic. This story arc has been kind of trippy. Things are progressing. I do have to make sure I'm not turning to a naughty page. I don't think there's anything as
Some
naughty
sexy going on.
not in as much in this issue as previous issues, but I still got to be certain. But it's a nice like it like pays homage to the classic superhero comics of the 90s while also being a very modern, almost a deconstructionist version of superheroes, where the character is like he's not allowed to wear his costume because of a court order,
Right.
and
Yeah.
he can't even go by his name. He like everybody in town hates him, but he's trying to do the right thing and like help people. It's just really 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 good. I can't say it enough. I love this comic. It's a flip book, just like the classic Image Youngblood comics were flip books. And so this one, this cover is actually by Jim Valentino, who's one of the Image founders. He was one of the first guys at Image, and yeah, it's a homage to a cover that he did. So
Nice.
Valentino after me. Good book, highly recommend it. I don't think enough people are reading Local Man, so
How many issues are in this
This-
like, thing?
This is issue
We've
9.
been talking about this for a while now.
We have been. It's been going for a year.
Yeah.
This is issue 9, but it's actually the 10th issue that's been published because they did a Local Man special, like a fall special.
Okay, yeah.
That came out between story arcs. And so this, I believe, is the final story arc for this one. And then the next issue is going to be another special. And then they'll pick it up with number 10, several months down the line. But yeah,
Okay.
it's a really good book.
Yeah.
If you're tired of reading just like the same old superhero stories like with Marvel and DC, highly recommend checking out Local Man. It's just like a unique take on superheroes, but it still feels a little familiar because it's building off of Like it has a little bit. It's got the nostalgia for '90s superheroes built into it, but it's
Mhm.
not. It's not like a just one big homage, like
Right.
riff
Yeah,
on
yeah,
'90s
yeah.
comics.
Yeah.
So yeah,
At its heart, it has it, but it's
yeah,
telling a new story.
yes, exactly. Yeah,
Mhm.
really, really good stuff. Ah, here we go.
Here we
Here
go.
we go. This is why we're here, man.
Well, this is like we had a happy accident
So-
where we both accidentally wore GI Joe stuff today.
Yeah, yeah,
Or
yeah.
like the Cobra deal. Like I can't get it, but you get that. You
Yeah,
get
yeah,
the idea. Could zip it up, but I'm
you don't.
too fat for it. Look.
There
Okay,
you go.
anyway.
Yeah, GI Joe, Yo Joe. Duke number 2 comes out tomorrow. Boom. I am really, really liking this. Like I know I've talked about these books every week they come out.
Mhm.
I really enjoyed the Transformers comic. I really enjoyed Duke and Cobra Commander.
Mhm.
Really excited to see where this is going. I really don't know if I have anything to say about this that I haven't already said about all those other comics every week. Just other than it continues to be great.
It's good.
It's so good. And I think the biggest thing I just want to like reiterate is that Tom Riley, the artist, he is just killing it. Like he's just such a great comic book artist and is like stylized, but it's not in that like photorealism style, but
Mhm.
all the characters still look like real people, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
Like it's so good. And I love this. Rock and Roll shows up and it's the character Rock and Roll.
Oh sure.
Yeah, he's
Not
really
the
cool.
musical genre.
Not the
as a
musical
whole.
genre. Yeah. The character whose code name is Rock and Roll. It's so action packed, and the plot is like clipping along. There's all these little references. They make a reference. Duke makes a reference to his younger brother, who we all know is Falcon, Lieutenant Falcon, who. Or wait, no, that Flint's brother. Oh, I'm already mixing up my Joe lore. Oh no!
Is it on your shirt?
It's actually I think Falcon might be on the shirt.
Nice.
But you know what? Anyway, disregard anything I say. Just trust me, Duke is awesome. I'm so psyched for this shared universe, the new Energon universe.
Oh, the energy.
Yeah, the Transformers and GI Joe.
And what else?
Also that Void Rivals book. We've been joking on that, but I had a friend actually tell me that he's kind of enjoying Void Rivals more than he enjoyed Cobra Commander #1.
Wow.
And after I got done slapping him in the face,
Yeah.
he made a coherent argument for it, which
Oh.
is, I've been kind of down on Void Rivals, but it is clear in its storytelling.
Yeah.
And like the art is good.
Yeah.
And there's like a clear like goal of where like what it's moving toward. I
Mhm.
personally think it's moving a little slow.
Mhm.
Whereas like I have to concede a little bit. As much as I like am going off on like Duke and Cobra Commander, a lot of these comics, these two in particular, Duke and Cobra Commander, there's a lot of like tease for what might happen, but the story itself is not super concrete yet. And I think a lot of it is built on kind of like playing around in the shared universe, whereas Transformers feels like a very linear story. And then Duke and Cobra Commander, I think you can enjoy them without reading Transformers, but it definitely feels like they're picking up the pieces after Transformers, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
Whereas like Void Rivals is actually more of its own thing than any of the books. So he makes a good point, and I have to concede, like,
Alright.
it's
Void Rivals is the best.
it's the,
You heard it here first.
it's the most straightforward.
It knows what it is.
Yeah, I mean that's true. But nothing is as exciting as Duke and Cobra Commander,
Except for Void Rivals.
except for I never once I didn't use the term exciting to describe Void Rivals. I said it was straightforward and clear in its storytelling.
Wow.
Which is good because there
sure.
are like talking about clear storytelling. Let's move on to our next book.
Good segue.
Yeah, Moon Man.
Moon Man.
This book is created and co-written by Kid Cutie, who I'm led to believe is a very popular music
Is it Cutie
guy.
or Cuddy?
It's Cuddy. I'm being silly. I think Kid Cutie is such a good name.
It could be Kid Cutie.
It could be.
Sounds like a boxer.
It does. Yeah, the Kid Cutie. Man, I gotta write that down. Yeah, write that down.
Co-creation.
So this is Moon Man #1. I told you I was trying to find #1 issues. This one is out. From Image. It's co-written by Kyle Higgins, who is a good writer. He does the Radiant Black series, and he also does the Deep Cuts comic that I am always talking up how good it is.
Yeah, the musical one.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah. So this is it's called Moon Man, and it is pretty straightforward in its setup. This is very much like a setup issue, and I couldn't find myself getting too excited about it. There's some ideas here, but it all feels fairly perfunctory to me. It's like astronauts go to the moon,
Yep.
and then they disappear for 7 minutes, and nobody knows what happens to them. And then they
Uh-oh.
come back, and everything appears to be fine.
Until
And then like this guy, one of the guys though, he's having like visions of something, and like
mhm.
the art is nice.
Oh, it looks cool.
It looks good, but I think kind of going along with what I was saying, if a lot of this feels, it's a very modern style of storytelling where it feels like it's more like set up to be storyboards for a movie
Mhm.
as opposed to a comic book,
Mhm.
and that's just something that probably doesn't bother other people as much as it bothers me. But you know, but it's not I guess
Do we have another case of
it's
a person that's famous and has money decided to make a comic book?
I can't think of one off the top of my head, not a specific one. um there's no shortage of them.
There's a ton.
There's a ton. So but
Holy Roller comes to mind.
yeah, actually
Yeah, there's
yeah, there's a lot of these types of
its
things.
own genre
It is.
of comic
So,
books.
and you know, and I'm trying not to like come in with a too negative attitude, but you know my stance. Whenever I see like famous person from another genre now does a comic book, I'm just like I just roll my eyes like. But I've been, you know, I was very open like that Operation Sunshine by the
Mhm.
guys that did the last podcast on the left.
Mhm.
It's an excellent comic, one of my favorites. So I'm not like I don't rule it out. I give everybody a fair shake. At least I try to. I think I might. But there's this like it just kind of becomes like almost like a superhero origin where the guy like there's it's a little topical where there's like a riot in the streets because people
Mhm.
are protesting,
Mhm.
and then the guy like either flies or teleports. It's a little unclear. And this was one of where this is what I'm talking about. Like the art is nice, but I really couldn't exactly tell what was going on. But he exhibits superpowers in some way, and now it's like, oh, what's going to happen next? Like,
Mhm.
I don't know. It was very light on the story, but it was
Hmm.
trying to speak to a lot of like big things. Like there's a lot of talk about like uh, the main character. He has a conversation slash argument with his brother, and his young brother is kind of a younger hothead. He wants to protest things that society is nothing wrong. I mean, everything's wrong in society, and we need to do stuff. And the astronaut is a little bit more level headed. Of like
Mhm.
things are a little bit more complicated. It's not as simple as you think. Everybody has to just make do with the best that they have, and it's very much like this is the statement of the book
Mhm.
scene, and it's a nice scene, but like everything in that book, it's a nice scene. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, I just felt like it's fine. I might be curious to see where like it goes with future issues.
It's fine.
It just didn't feel like it had any like big twist on the like go into space, have an accident, get superpowers, and like there's no real like villain set up other
Mhm.
than maybe the corporation
Mhm.
that's named. I don't know. I'm gonna keep my eye on it, but because it's got good looking art. It is true, but it didn't just
Didn't do much for you.
didn't excite me the way those GI Joe comics do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a tough one to come up with like a whole brand new idea that hasn't been mined somewhere
Man,
before
it really
already.
is. Like I can
So
tell you,
yeah, you got maybe second issue will really
like kick it up a
yeah bring
notch.
it home. I don't know.
We'll see. We'll find out. I'll let you know.
You let me know. We'll
Yeah,
talk about it
we'll
here on the
talk about
stream.
it. Yeah, for sure. All right, we got just like
Oh
two more books. So
yeah,
now I know you're excited to talk
Tales.
about
Yeah,
Darkwing Duck
Darkwing
Justice
Duck.
Ducks. This was a book that came out last week, but we didn't have a chance to talk about it
Mhm,
because
mhm,
we didn't get our whole shipment. You
mhm,
remember? So this is one of the variant covers. This is actually drawn by Roger Langridge, who is
mhm,
the writer on the book, and this is an homage
mhm.
to a classic Justice League International cover. And I wasn't really going to read this because Disney's putting out a ton of books right now.
Okay.
Like they're doing all these Darkwing Duck books, they're doing these Gargoyle books, they're doing all their Disney villain books. Like
yeah.
like Dynamite is going hard on the Disney licenses. But I saw that it was written by Roger Langridge, who is a cartoonist that I really like. This is a nice cover. He wrote and drew a Muppets series like 10 years ago that I made reference to on one of the episodes when you asked me if they ever made Muppets comics.
Yeah.
So I felt like, oh, okay, well, I'm glad he's like working on something. So let me check it out. And it's a pretty fun, albeit straightforward, I'm gonna use that term again, kids comic. It's the Darkwing Duck characters, but I don't really remember anything about these characters from watching them in the cartoon. I've never revisited these cartoons. Like I
Right.
watched them as a kid in the 90s.
And that's it.
It's it. I remember watching Darkwing Duck a lot. I did because I watched that one a lot. I remember DuckTales. I really like Gizmo Duck,
Who does?
But they're cool, fun characters for kids. But I don't have any they didn't stick with me the same way that say G.I. Joe has. Like that's just something that struck me at the right age where I was just into it. But yeah, it's a fun comic. It's like a silly little story about aliens that are giants that come to Earth, and they form a type of Justice League that
to fight them.
Yeah, to fight the aliens. And Darkwing Duck plays the whole loner thing. He's Batman kind of. But yeah, it's perfectly good kids comic. I kind of enjoyed it.
It's good entertainment.
It is. It was, and I like that. I'm gonna sound like an old man, but I like that it's the issue is just like a complete story of just you can just buy a random issue and give it to a kid and they can just read it.
Yeah,
and
I feel like that's by design though if it's for children.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so yeah, good. I don't have anything else to say about it really.
It's fine.
It's perfectly
kids.
fine.
Enjoyable.
So I got something else here along those lines. Disney's Lilo and Stitch. I like to end with the book that a coworker picks out for me, and so I had our dear friend Celeste pick out a comic, and I
told you it was Celeste.
Yeah. She's so excited for this comic. She loves Lilo and Stitch, and Lilo and Stitch definitely has a pretty hardcore following.
Yeah.
I know, my wife doesn't like me to talk about it on this stream, but it's like her favorite movie is Lilo and Stitch.
Really?
One of them. She has many favorite Disney films, but Lilo and Stitch, it's just people really, really liked it. It came out at that right time, I think. It's weird, and it does have. Have you ever seen the movie? Do you know anything about it?
I've seen it.
It does have that uniqueness where it's a little bit of sci-fi. The character, Stitch is a kind of a monster,
he's a monster
with the heart of gold, he's an alien. But so Celeste obviously was going to pick this out for me to read, and I was just okay, let me do this. Let me just go through this. But I noticed on the cover it's written by Greg Pak, who is a really good veteran writer of the comic book industry. He's wrote a lot of stuff for a lot of different publishers, but most notably he wrote the Incredible Hulk in the mid 2000s, and he wrote the Planet Hulk storyline, which is now it's a classic, but a pretty famous Hulk story. That's the one that they drew from that for the Thor Ragnarok movie, where he's Gladiator Hulk. That's all from Planet Hulk, which was sick. So I instantly recognized that name, and I'm okay, yeah, let's see that. And it's a pretty straightforward Lilo and Stitch story. Some villains want to kidnap Stitch for nefarious means, and there's a lot of talk about family, and it's got the Hawaiian heritage and culture mixed into it. I guess I don't really want to spoil the ending, but it was probably the more interesting parts, part of the comic where
I can't believe Lilo dies.
I know. Well, I said we weren't going to spoil it, but
it's really unexpected for Disney.
Yeah, it's a bit of a downer, but there's it's.
Didn't see it coming.
The art is really clean. It looks like the Lilo and Stitch movie. There's some Easter eggs here and there in some of the characters. And issue 2 looks like it's actually going to be a lot of fun. I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to spoil, but also who really cares? There's not much to spoil. But
our legions of people watching right now.
I know.
They're going to be so upset.
But yeah, I think that I'm gonna have to ask my wife if she wants me to buy this for
You
her
should just buy
because
it for her anyway. Take it home.
Valentine's Day is coming up, so
Oh,
that might
but
be.
what if she's watching the stream now? The surprise is
Dang it. Well,
ruined.
I'm gonna have to ask her to act surprised.
Let's see here. It doesn't look like it. No,
Okay, good.
you're
We're
fine.
clean.
You're fine.
Oh, good.
You're good.
Well, then we're gonna have an argument later about why. Oh, there's Susie says yes. Yeah, I think you're right, Susie. I will have to buy it for my wife. But I don't know if Celeste has finished reading it because I wanted to ask her what she thought of it
Mhm.
as like a huge Lilo and Stitch fan. And I don't know if she's finished it, but I'm gonna guess she really loved it. I'm going out on a limb saying that she loved it. But yeah, Disney fans, Lilo and
Yeah.
Stitch fans. I will say
What's
this:
not to like?
the Lilo and Stitch book did feel like a little bit more mature than the Darkwing Duck comic.
Okay,
So like
that's fair.
I enjoyed the Darkwing Duck comic, but it's very much like a silly little book for kids.
Mhm.
And I like stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's not more than that. This Lilo and Stitch book does feel like it's like one level up, where it's like appeals more to like young adults,
Mhm.
but also kids. Like I think that's one of the bigger appeals of the Lilo and Stitch characters is that kids can get into it because it's silly, but there's still like a little bit more going on with the characters. Like it's not all just like silly cartoon
Yeah.
silliness. There's a little bit of some good heart about growing up, and so there's a little bit of a nostalgia to it for like adults that read it. And I guess a coming of age aspect to it that I
Okay.
think adults can get into. So I think that's all like speaks to the wider appeal of something like Lilo and Stitch. Like
Right.
kids like it because Stitch is just crazy and
I
wacky.
mean, and let's be honest, this is an old movie that has been out for like what 20 years or something
You know,
now.
it's
So
funny.
it's like for people that have probably had liked it when they were younger. And
There's an element of that to it
Yeah.
too, and I guess that just tells you how old I am.
when did Lilo and Stitch come out? I'm gonna Google it
'Cause
right now.
I-
What's your guess?
2004, 5, 7,
2002.
2002? No way.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. Okay, so that's funny because like to me, this is how old I am. I still think it is over 20 years old. I still think of Lilo and Stitch as like a new Disney movie, because
Oh wait. No, wait. The movie?
Yeah.
2002.
2002?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. 2001, Susie is saying. Whew.
I mean, yeah.
So I would have been at that. I would have been just old enough to no longer be interested in Disney movies because they're for kids, but not yet old enough to have nostalgia for
20
them.
years old.
I kind of can't believe it.
They had to reanimate that spaceship scene. Oh boy.
No,
What is Susie talking
Susie, see, look, get a load of this Lilo and Stitch expert in our comments. Yeah,
20.
my
Man.
my wife. She, just keep making my wife jokes.
Having a breakdown.
She didn't believe me when I said I'd never seen it. I watched Lilo and Stitch for the first time like last year.
Oh, okay. Did you like it?
I didn't hate it, but
fine.
It's you know what? I know you think that that's my catchphrase, but it was
Put it on a shirt.
it was perfectly fine.
It was perfectly fine.
That's what I was
gonna say.
There was some fun stuff in it. I mean, like Stitch is fun.
Yeah.
But it was like so. It's still just so very Disney. I don't know. I'm kind of over a lot of Disney stuff, but that was an interesting era of Disney, where it was like in flux. The brand was kind of like struggling because Pixar was huge. Pixar was doing everything, and Disney was like, "Well, we're still Disney. We're still popular, but all of our movies are underperforming compared to Pixar." So they just bought Pixar, and then they had this weird thing where they're like, "How do we integrate all of that?" And I feel like now they got a better handle on like what their brand is, but at the time, I think like because like the last Disney film that came out that I genuinely really like and I still will rewatch is The Emperor's New Groove.
That's a good one.
John Goodman. And,
honestly,
it's
David
really
Spade.
real David Spade. Yeah, I actually would go so far to say it might be one of the best of all time Disney animated films.
Okay.
Personally, in my top 5 for sure. But it's a good movie, and it's so very unlike all the other Disney movies.
It's very manic.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's pretty much all I got to say about
That's
comics
it.
this week.
That's all the comics. Go get Lilo and Stitch. It's got a crazy surprise twist ending.
Well, I won't say
I
it's a
mean,
surprise twist ending, but it's
the gunfight like really caught me off guard.
it's like when
I was like,
when
wow.
Keanu Reeves showed up.
Yeah, Reeves is like, man, he's like he is John Wick.
Yeah.
El Dorado Projector Night suggestion. I mean, I haven't seen it, so let's do it.
Oh, okay.
I've only made memes about it. So that's the comic books that are coming out tomorrow. Like we said, it's a light week. It's the 5th week in January, so things get weird. It's like time doesn't exist. Birds aren't real. Mosquitoes are drones. Anyway, so go ahead and buy your comic books here at Fantasy Books and Games. And if you can't get to the store, buy some comics anywhere because there's something out there for everybody. You should go check it out. And we'll see you next Tuesday. Maybe we'll have more comic books by then.
We'll see.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.